What up, though? Welcome to Woman Crush Every Day, where we discuss queer media, especially when it is black and especially when it is woman. I'm your host, Tang B, aka Sean B. Scribe.
And I'm your host, Allison, aka Al Wu.
And today we are going to discuss Slave Play by Jeremy O. Harris.
Yes, y'all, we are taking it to Broadway. But before we get into it, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you tap in with us and check out these videos that we drop weekly featuring all this beautiful woman, black, queer footage. You feel me?
All of it.
So yeah, make sure you do that.
Yes. All right. So we also are going to shout out our new subscribers because we haven't since we've been back for the new year. Yes. So shout out to Jane and James, Kenyatta Brown. Oh, my bad. Janine James, Kenyatta Brown, my sister.
Boom.
That's my big sis, y'all. Maggie Adams, Anitra Hooper, and Ask Alexis 111.
Wow, we got a lot of folks who came in.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you all so much for joining the family.
Absolutely. And with that, let's get into Slave Play.
All right.
So we'll give some warnings. One, we're going to be dropping, just a lot of spoilers.
Okay,
so
absolutely spoiling this.
If you have not had the opportunity to see the play, if you have not had the opportunity to read the play, you should probably do that before, or not,
Right. Just get a feeling for the play throughout this conversation, because I before we saw the play, we had read some things, we watched some videos, we had seen some things, not necessarily the full spectrum, but you still have to see it.
Yeah.
I think in order to
get the full essence.
Pull it all together. So even with the spoilers, I recommend, and there's that.
You should definitely see the play. You should have some caution if you are somebody who is uncomfortable dealing with themes of like sexual assault, violence, racism.
Yeah. All of that's in there.
It's all in there. Yeah.
Thick. This is not for the faint of heart.
No, this is not it. So get whatever you need to get comfortable. And so how we got to see the play, we got a chance to see it at the August Wilson Theater.
Yes.
That was in November.
Yep, late November.
And it was directed by Robert O'Hara. So we enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Was it directed by Robert O'Hara?
That particular production. Ooh, do we have the bill down here?
We do not have the bill down here.
All right, well, we'll put it in the show notes. Show notes for you all.
Robert O'Hara was the original Broadway director of this production.
Yeah.
I believe that's how that went down.
Yeah.
So, and maybe we got the Broadway, the Robert O'Hara treatment too. But I do want to confirm that.
Yeah, we should confirm that. Okay. So the premise of the play.
Yeah. I'm going. I feel like you left that pause in there. Okay, it's my turn. Boom. So the premise of the play. Well, I'm not going to say the premise of the play, because we start this play out, and the first act is 3 vignettes of 3 couples who are participating in race play, more specifically slave play. So they are having sexual experiences, but the partners are role playing, often one as slave, or not even often, but one is slave and one is a master or an indentured servant or master's wife or something like that.
Yeah.
And that is seen Act 1.
Yeah.
Act 2, we find out that one of the guys in the couple stops the whole scene and says, he calls a safe word, and we realize that these vignettes that are happening aren't them just having a good time, but they're participating in a role play therapy that's called the antebellum sexual performance therapy.
Yep, that's it.
I believe so. We find out that they're actually a part of this experiment, and there are therapists who are working with them and talking with them through what they just experienced throughout the second act. In the third act, one of our couples, I would say our main protagonist couple.
Yeah.
This is Jim and Kanisha, a white British man and an African American woman from the South. They Kanisha is fed up with what Jim is doing and his whole behavior and attitude throughout all of the session.
Yeah.
And she's packing up to go. Jim stops her though and says that he wants to listen. And so Kanisha starts talking. She's telling her whole life. And then Jim kind of cuts her off, essentially, and is just like, shut up. And rapes her, essentially. I just feel like I
in role play
jump to it. Yeah, he turns on the southern accent. He does the whole thing, but it's very much giving us the vibe of like slavery and master and enslaved woman who is a victim of this, gross violence. So,
and Kanisha thanks him for listening
at the end.
After calling the safe word.
And that is
what you go through in sitting in slave play. Now, because we read criticism about the play before we went, we had a different experience from some other people who did not know what they were getting themselves into sitting down at that play. Yeah. So, read up, y'all.
Yeah.
I think it helps.
Interesting experience. I am glad that we saw the play before reading the play.
Yeah.
But I'm also glad that I read the play.
Yeah.
And
it's two different experiences in a way, depending on which one you do first.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah.
And I want to note that when we saw this play, we were sitting next to people of color.
Yeah.
And I think that added a lot to how we experienced what happened. Because I read an article about a lady who went to go see the play, but she saw it twice, but the second time, I can't remember which time she saw it, but one of the times she saw it, she was around a whole bunch of rich white people, essentially, and it was really uncomfortable for her because the things that they were laughing at weren't the moments that she was laughing at, and it was just like, how do I...
This is also a comedy.
Internalize. Yes. Thank you. It's a, and the notes in the play say it's a comedy of sorts. So it's like, it is a comedy. There are a lot of comedic moments.
Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of serious things that come up.
Yeah, tackling very, very heavy issues.
Yes. So, well, let's just jump into it. Yeah. So, favorite scene?
All right. So, my favorite scene from this entire play, I think it is it happens in the moment when we realize that we're part of an experiment.
Oh.
I think that to me was just so brilliantly executed. So I mean, I don't know if that's not a scene necessarily.
Yeah, but it's a moment. Yeah.
But I think that was maybe my favorite moment.
Yeah.
Of the play.
Yeah. I love that because when you're sitting in the audience and we kind of know that we know that the play is going to deal with kink in a way. We know that the play is going to deal with slavery. So we have this idea. We don't know what this psychological experiment is or that's happening. And so it's just just nice surprise. Which, if you're watching this and you haven't seen it, it's not a surprise for you anymore. But
or maybe you've already seen it.
Yeah,
and you just want to hear more people talk about it.
Yeah,
we're doing that.
Absolutely. So, that was just a great moment, and it made you pay attention to the dialogue in a different way. Whereas, like the first scene, there are a lot of crass things being said. And I personally was laughing through much of it, but there were some things that still like stung, that still felt uncomfortable. And for scene 2 to be able to take this perspective of like, this is a psychological experiment, allowed some dissonance from it to just be able to continue to process the play as a viewer, and not as somebody who's coming from a history that is clearly being used as the center of comedy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, my favorite scene was in Act 2 where they're in the therapy scene, and Patricia, who is one of the therapists, Patricia and Taya are therapists who are trying to understand this antebellum sexual performance therapy. This is their theory that they're coming up with, and these people are participating in their experiment. And Taya is biracial black woman. And Patricia is,
A white presenting Latinx woman
yeah.
is, yeah.
So, Patricia and Taya are listening to Alana, who is this white woman who's been in this race play, slave play scene with this biracial dude. And Alana has been really excited about the scene and the fact that she didn't get to finish. And it's supposed to be Philip's turn to talk. And pretty much Patricia cuts in and says, you know, Alana, you're really just taking up a lot of space. And then Taya jumps in to start saying something else. And she does it at the end of Patricia's statement, and Patricia cuts Taya off immediately and continues to explain something to Alana. And it was just such a perfect moment of the experimenters need this as much as the participants do. They still haven't figured out how to carry their own dynamics. And it was just spot on. I just felt like the comedy in this play was, it tickled me.
Yeah.
It tickled me
Yeah.
often.
And you know, I think it was funny in that moment in particular when Patricia interrupts Taya, she interrupts to apologize to kind of say like, oh, you know, wait, but I have to say this, you know, I still have to cut you off to make my point, to show that I'm like a really good person. And you know, and it's like, stop like, just, you're a good person, you don't have to explain yourself right now. And I feel like that's something that folks who are like white folks who are fragile about those feelings, you know, feel this need to apologize, you know, to, like, hey, it's not me, you know. And it's like, but that's like, that's where it's you, like, that's the part where it's you at, right there. But
yes All right, so woman crush.
Do you want to go first?
I mean, it's Taya. Taya's the woman crush.
Yeah, Taya's my woman crush. Boom, you know.
Taya and Patricia. Did I say, okay, they're the therapists in the room, but they're also a couple. And that's what first drew me to this play was, one, that it's written by a queer playwright, Jeremy O. Harris. Two, that it involves sex and race, and dealing with that intersection. And three, that it stars, well, doesn't star, but features at its center a lesbian of color, a lesbian black woman, who is a therapist and is a part of constructing the whole premise.
Yeah, this radical therapy.
Yeah. However you may feel about the radical therapy, you know, she's doing her shit. She's a Yale student. She's doing her shit. And I just think, you know, she makes for an incredible character. She brings a lot of nuance. The role she plays is really sort of simplistic in that she's not a part of the first act or the third act. So it's really concise where she is in the play, but she's totally central.
Yeah, no, I totally have to agree for all of the reasons that you said before.
It's Taya.
Well, yeah. It's easily Taya. That's not my crush. You should go see the play because of Taya. Boom.
Yes.
All right.
So, what for you can stay? What can go?
All right. So, overall, this play, I think, is a really brilliant piece of work. You know, I hope with all of my heart that Jeremy's intentions are what I've built them up in my head to be in terms of what this play is and what it's about, specifically for black folks who are in relationships, romantic and sexual relationships with white people, or black folks who want to be in sexual or romantic relationships with white people for whatever reason. So I just think that this is a really, really amazing work that I think has potential to impact a lot of lives, create a lot of conversation, and I'm not mad at the risks that were taken. So I think what can stay, keep the risks. Like, just go there. I'm really excited for this, like, new age of Broadway as well. Like, with having more black playwrights out here telling stories that speak to audiences of today, you know? So please keep all that, and keep these queer black folk on stage acting and being awesome. Yes. What can go is, I think there's still like a piece of me agrees with the overall feelings that I've heard from a lot of black women who have seen this play or read this play. Just the final scene of Kanisha's rape play experience with Jim. You know, I get that it was like, we're using this really dramatic, you know, horrifying, sensitive, you know, moment, traumatic experience for so many black women as like the climax. So I like the story, but if I had to say something that could go, I just wish that black women in particular didn't have to experience that trauma on stage. Like, it didn't, why, you know, I don't want to say why, because in so many ways I do like poetically understand why Kanisha is this character, you know, is that we have Jim and we have Kanisha. I get the polarity there, but I don't want to see that. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of black women don't want to see that. Now, hey, you know, I think a lot of black women do want to see that. Hey, and I think there are a lot of people out there who do want to see that, but I think there are more black women who are like, ugh.
Yeah. We understand why it's there.
Yeah.
But it's not a pleasurable experience.
Yeah. It's, you know,
and it's not supposed to be.
It's exactly. So I get all of the pieces, but historically there's a lot to unpack for a lot of black folk in America.
Yeah. And white people too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot there. Yeah. For me, that is the thing that can go, you know, and I think race play in general, not even just in the context of this play. I think this play exists because race play exists.
Yeah.
Slave play exists. And on one end, I feel like people should do what they want to do and tolerate what they want to tolerate and enjoy what they want to enjoy. On the other end, I will never participate in no kind of race or slave play.
Period.
With anybody. I'm not interested in liberating my mind through no kind of like,
I don't need that.
That's pussy therapy. I don't need it. No. Yeah. There's that. What can stay for me? I think the play is brilliantly written. I think it's really well put together. I think especially going back and being able to read through the dialogue, and to see the language that is there, to see how the music is used there. Like, Rihanna's work song is central, a part of this play, which kind of gives you more of the layers that Jeremy is playing with. Like, this isn't just white people abusing black people in consensual kink play. This is there's a lot that's going on. So hearing Rihanna's song, bringing up things about OCD and its connections to history and trauma and how trauma can travel through the body, calling out the damage that white people have inflicted historically on so many groups of people in so many bodies of land, and calling it out, having a play where I'm gonna get into some other stuff later, but the thing that I think I really love is just being able to take something so dark as antebellum slavery and helping me laugh. I think that was my therapy in the play. Like, being able to laugh, because I feel like growing up and going to a school that was very much centered in black is beautiful and black power, and we're going to learn about our black heroes and we're going to learn about our black history, it's still so much that was focused on the trauma from a very, real perspective, because that's what's necessary when you're teaching history. Sometimes you have to talk about those things, but it also made me turned off to trying to enjoy these as art, as pleasure, and not being able to enjoy one's own history from a stance of pleasure, I think is its own form of slavery. And I just am really grateful that Jeremy O. Harris wrote this play where I was like, I'm laughing. I'm laughing as I'm watching this. I'm getting to participate. And I think part of that was us sitting there amongst other people of color. Part of that was already having a comfort with sexuality, and being able to let go.
Yeah.
Part of that comes from already having like a pride around one's own history and not coming from a place of shame. But I just want to compare this to like Antebellum, which was the movie that Janelle Monáe starred in.
Yeah.
And the premise of that, sorry about to spoil it, so skip ahead if you don't want to hear, is that Janelle Monáe's character has been kidnapped and is put into a role play, like, how they'll do like Civil War role plays and whatnot. So she's put into this role play where she is a slave. And the first part of the movie, you are totally just in the antebellum South, and there are just little clues that maybe were not there, but you can easily see past them. And then it's revealed, like, 45 minutes in, that this woman has been kidnapped and she's a modern woman who should be speaking at like a conference.
Yeah. She was supposed to be speaking at a conference this week. Instead, she's enslaved.
So it's very much like slave play, and then it's like, we're gonna make you think you're in history, then we're gonna pull you into the present and play with your mind a little bit. And Antebellum, I love Janelle Monáe, but that movie, never again.
Traumatic.
Never again.
Yeah, that was a horrifying film.
No laughter.
Yeah, I don't think I laughed.
No.
A chuckle.
It was trauma after trauma, and then no processing at the end.
Yeah, definitely like relive slavery.
Yeah.
In 4K. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, actually, I don't know that I need that image of slavery. I got it. Yeah. I get it.
Their final images are similar though, because on that, Janelle Monáe's character is like on a horse. She's like killed all the white people, and she's like having this like cathartic, violent experience. And Kanisha has her own cathartic, violent experience. Ooh. But
yeah. That was deep. I like the journey that you just took us on. That was fun, and. Yeah, and the Antebellum comparison, very different, because Antebellum, we couldn't get the laughter out of it, and
no,
it really does mean so much to understanding an idea and coping with something that you're uncomfortable with when you're able to laugh.
Yeah.
And in this crazy experience, Jeremy makes us laugh, he makes us think, he takes us on all this stuff, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so last question though.
Yes.
Where does this fit in the queer canon?
To have a play where we are introduced to race, sexuality, and kink in the mainstream on Broadway with black people.
Yes.
Who else has done it?
Not like this.
Not like this.
This is the first play to be nominated for 12 Tonys. That's like the most non-musical play. Yeah. So this is record breaking. Yeah. You know, like that's where this fits as well. Like yeah. I just wanted to throw that in.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, it's by a black playwright. Jeremy O. Harris has been having plays that really address sexuality and race and interracial relationships and friendships and all of that. And I think also all bringing many times sexuality and queerness into the story in a way that I think makes people queer people more a part of this larger conversation about interracial relationships that I don't think get considered. And I think it's really important because the thing that I always hear from people of color is like that we don't have any, black love. It's always people with white people. And so okay, if that's part of what's happening, then this conversation is even more important.
Yeah.
Then people definitely need to be tackling this.
Yes.
If you are in community where you are in friendship with white people, in work relationships with white people, in family relationships with white people, you will probably be in situations where you may end up dating white people.
Yeah.
Or white people may become interested in you. And how do you navigate those relationships if you don't also navigate the history that comes along with it?
Yes.
So that's why I think, yeah, welcome to the Queer Can. This is great addition.
I think everything that you said, you totally co-sign those ideas. Oh my gosh. I mean, where else does this fit in the queer canon? I mean, you named so many things. We have a queer playwright. We have these queer couples.
Yes.
We didn't really go into, and I mean, this is Woman Crush, but we didn't really mention that there's another queer couple.
Yeah.
Dustin and Gary.
Yeah.
You were gonna say that. I thought about it. I thought about Gary's name in the play, but I didn't say it. But Dustin and Gary, yeah, they're a gay couple, and
yeah,
if you're a dude and you want to check that out, check it out for Dustin and Gary's conversation. Yeah, I think I agree in terms of. It's tough because I think thinking about the American dream and like what it means to integrate or assimilate into society, there's so many complex feelings around the ways to do that or doing that at all.
Yeah.
And I think to have a play so cleverly bring the reality that we live in a very integrated society to the forefront, and like how do we break down these walls. It's fire. I really don't know where else to go with this. I think you took all of the great points about where it really, where it fits for me too in the queer canon.
I think too, because we haven't talked about the use of kink in the play and the use of this like dominance and submission concept. And I think it's really interesting because the play in ways makes this, I don't know that it makes this argument, but it presents this question of who has control. How is listening a part of submitting? How is listening a part of being able to even hold the role of dominance or any kind of control? And owning who you are, doing your own work before you come to a scene. And I think it's really interesting to play with these ideas in the public view. And so what's interesting to me is, this role of Kanisha, and I don't know that this necessarily fits in the queer canon, but I think it does in the way that it is queering this conversation for straight people of, okay, we're going to have these lesbian women who come up with this idea for a therapy, and they have this unique view because they're not in relationship with men. And everybody who's a part of this experiment is. And so they can have this objective view to be able to help y'all navigate what's going on. And I'm just like, yes, that's like, going to 20s when we had the non-binary marriage counselor
Yeah.
pastor,
Yeah.
is just like, let us give y'all some wisdom, you know. Well, I don't know if I should call what Tay and Patricia did wisdom, but well intentioned.
Yeah, well intentioned. They were learning. I don't know if they were giving them wisdom more than they were exploiting them for their resources. But it was still smart.
It was smart.
I think it was still smart.
And it came to catharsis for all of the characters had some discoveries because of the work. It's not to say that the work was done the right way, or didn't produce some other traumas
or done at all.
Or done at all. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't
the work wasn't
feel
done.
that it suggests that the work is done. If
Yeah.
you do this type of stuff, or you participate in race play or slave play, that you have reached the pinnacle of black-white relations and race understanding, and everything is good. It's very much like, no, you need to keep digging. In fact, the reason why you're in this situation is because you haven't done the digging necessary.
Yes.
So yeah.
All right, so that's the play. I do think, like, if you are interested in the topic of submission, dominance in relation to queerness, or race and sexuality, then you should check out some things. Definitely check out some work by Audre Lorde, because she speaks to that. But also check out what's happening for new people, and what new folk are talking about. So Inner Whole Uprising always talks about sexuality and queerness from perspective of all different kinds of women and non-binary people. So just educate yourself. Oh, what was the podcast we listened to? Affirmative Reaction.
Affirmative Reaction. BIPOC Theater Squad for okay, I don't know their tag, but
they're on Spotify.
Yeah, it's a podcast that talks about
the re is in here in the parentheses.
Yeah, but yeah, they had a very interesting conversation around the play.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, awesome. All right, well, let us know what you thought in the comments. You can get the play online. If you just search for it on Google, you're able to purchase it, or you can usually find a free PDF that you can download to read it. And yeah, let us know what you think.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, y'all.
Peace.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
All right. Peace.